President Ram Nath Kovind to address valedictory function of Aero India 2021 at the Air Force Station in Bangalore's Yelahanka. Bandhan ceremony for signing of MOUs, products, launches and announcements to be held today. Discussion of motion on thanks on President's address in Rajya Sabha resumes. Lok Sabha witnesses several adjournments. While RBI announces bi-monthly monetary policy, repo rate stands unchanged. Decide to continue with an accommodative stance on monetary policy as long as necessary. At least 16 security force members killed and 2 wounded in a Taliban attack on their outpost in Khanabad district in the northern province of Kunduz on Thursday night. And in cricket, Ashwin and Jasprit Bumrah help India to strike back after a strong start by England openers on day 1 of the opening test match against India. Chepauk, India picked 3 spinners. England recall Ben Stokes and Jeffrey Archer. Good morning. Welcome to English News at 11:30. I'm Arnold Thomas. Now for the stories in detail. President Ram Nath Kovind will address the valedictory function of the Aero India 2021 at the Air Force Station at Yelahanka in Bangalore today. The ceremony for the signing of MOUs, product launch and announcements will also be held today. The day would also include Startup Manthan, which features startup ventures in arms manufacturing and technology being awarded for their technological innovations. The IDEX program of the Defence Ministry will be certifying the 4th set of technologies and solutions to the challenge set by the armed forces. The country's premier aerospace and defence exhibition, Aero India, took off in Bangalore on Wednesday. The 13th edition of the biennial international event at the Air Force Station in Yelahanka is the world's first hybrid aerospace show. The Aero India show is a military expo held to show the accomplishments of the Air Force, the things that it has achieved, and also to drive up investments. And the 3-day expo will conclude today. Well, President is on a 4-day visit to Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh. Tomorrow, President Kovind will visit Madikera, Kodegu district of Karnataka. And he will inaugurate a museum at the erstwhile ancestral home of General Timaya. On Feb 7, the President will grace the 23rd annual convocation of the Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences in Bangalore. On the same day, he will also visit the ashram of the Satsang Foundation in Madanapalle and visit the People Grove School at Sadom in Andhra Pradesh before returning to Delhi. Well, today is the last day of Aero India 2021. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh today interacted with 10 startups exhibiting their products in the Startup Manthan event. Delivering the keynote address during the event, Rajnath Singh said that the Startup India was based on 3 major pillars: simplification and hand-holding, funding and incentives, and industry academia partnerships.
Attaining self-reliance in the manufacturing of defence equipment is a crucial factor for maintaining India's strategic autonomy. The IDEX initiative stands out as one of the most effective and well-executed defence startup ecosystem created in our country. I believe it is a decisive step towards achieving self-reliance in the true spirit of the Atmanirbhar Bharat campaign.
Well, he added that the government is acutely conscious that startups, being the latest entrant in the defence manufacturing sector, require that extra push. He added that with this aim in view, the government has taken many steps to foster and encourage this partnership with private industry.
With this aim in view, we have taken many steps to foster and encourage this partnership with private industry. I would like to highlight some of them, like opening up the patents and laboratories of DRDO to private industry, setting up of young scientist labs in niche technology areas, programs like Innovation for Defense Excellence, Defense India Startup Challenge, and IDEX for Fauji, etc.
Well, coming back to the budget session of Parliament, in the upper house, Rajya Sabha continued to hold discussion on the motion of thanks on the President's address. Participating in the discussion, the opposition talks of repealing the 3 new farm laws. While speaking from the ruling side, Vinay Sahasrabudhe asserted that the government is concerned about the welfare of farmers, and he added that the opposition must understand this and support the government. On Feb 3rd, 5 extra hours were added to the duration of discussion in Rajya Sabha on the motion thanking the President for his address to the joint sitting of Parliament to allow a debate on the farmers' protest against the farm laws. BJP has issued a 3-line whip to its upper house MPs to be present in the House from Feb 8th to 12th to support the government's stand.
हम अपने जजमेंट से काम कर रहे हैं। आपको चाहिए कि आप किसानों की भी कुछ 2 बात उनको भी कहिए। आप हमको तो उपदेश कर रहे हैं। सारे किसान नेता हमारे आदरणीय नेता है। 11-12 बार हमारे मंत्री महोदय ने उनके साथ बातें की। अभी भी बातों के लिए हम तैयार हैं, मगर इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि आप भी थोड़ा लचीलापन न दिखाएं। हमने तो लचीलापन दिखाया। 3 साल 1.5 साल के लिए उसको स्थगित करने का जो पहली बार शायद सरकार ने रवैया अपनाया होगा इस पद्धति का, आप भी करिए।
Well, Lok Sabha proceedings were adjourned 4 times on Thursday amid uproar by the opposition members over the 3 new farm laws. Well, moving on now to the RBI monetary policy, the Reserve Bank of India has left the interest rates unchanged for the 4th time in a row, keeping the repo rate at 4%. Speaking at the press conference, RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das said that the central bank will maintain a accommodative monetary policy stance to support growth, keep inflation at targeted levels.
The MPC voted unanimously to leave the policy repo rate unchanged at 4%. The marginal standing facility rate and the bank rate remain unchanged at 4.25%. The reverse repo rate stands unchanged at 3.35%.
He mentioned that the GDP growth has been projected at 10.5% for 2021-22.
GDP growth is projected at 10.5% in 21-22, in the range of 26.2% to 8.3% in H1 and 6% in Q3 of the coming financial year, that is 21-22.
Well, adding further, the governor said that the CPI inflation is estimated at 5.2% for the current quarter from Jan to March.
The projection for CPI inflation has been revised to 5.2% for Q4 of the current financial year, that from January to March, and to 5.2% to 5% in the H1. Let me repeat, for the current quarter, our projection is that CPI inflation will be 5.2%, and for H1, the range we are giving is 5.2% to 5%. And for Q3 of next year, we are projecting 4.3%. And we are assessing that the risks would be broadly balanced.
Well, let's now take a look at COVID-19 updates from across the country. Around 15,853 recoveries were reported in the country in the last 24 hours, taking the total number of recoveries to 1,4,96,308. The country's COVID-19 recovery rate has reached 97.16%. The Health Ministry said the actual caseload currently comprises only 1.43% of the total positive cases. Presently, the total number of active cases in the country is 1,51,460. Also, with the largest vaccination drive in force, India has vaccinated over 49,59,445 people as of now. Well, moving on to the next story, according to the Indian Council of Medical Research, a total of 19 crores 99 lakh 31,795 samples have been tested for COVID-19 so far in India. Of these, in a single day, that's on Feb 4th, a total of 7,15,776 samples were tested in a single day. Well, Delhi schools reopened for Class 9 and Class 11 and colleges restarted from today. The schools were closed in the capital since March last year in a bid to curb the spread of COVID-19. Students are now attending classes for clearing doubts and practicals as per the permission of parents. School authorities are also following all COVID-19 protocols. Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia earlier mentioned that the conditions would be similar to the ones announced when schools reopened for students of class 10 and 12 on Jan 18th. Classes for students of class 10 and class 12 were allowed to resume on Jan 18th for pre-board preparations and practical work with strict masking and distancing guidelines in place. Well, Union Minister of State in PMO, Dr. Jitendra Singh, said that the work on the Banihal-Qazi tunnel in Jammu-Srinagar National Highway is about to be complete and will be dedicated to the people soon. Worth to mention is that the Banihal-Qazi tunnel is 8.5 kilometers long and it has an elevation of 1790 meters and is the only 4-lane twin-tube tunnel in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. The work on the 2100 crore project started in June 2011 by the Navyuk Engineering Company and on completion would reduce the road distance between Banihal in Jammu province and Qazigund in South Kashmir by 16 kilometers from the present 35 kilometers and will bypass the Jawahar Tunnel and the Shaitan Nala, which are prone to heavy snowfall and slippery conditions during winters. In Afghanistan, at least 16 security forces members were killed and 2 more wounded in a Taliban attack on their outpost in the Khan Abad district in the northern province of Kunduz last night. According to sources, the attack was carried out by the Taliban. The attack comes amidst a sharp increase in violence in the country despite the ongoing efforts for peace. Well, for more on the story, we've got our correspondent Ramesh Ramchandran joining us on the phone line. Ramesh, good morning. Ramesh, give us a sense of this particular, security breach there in Afghanistan, and are there any claimants to this particular attack that's taken place?
Morning, Anil. Unfortunately for the people of Afghanistan, such terror attacks have become almost a daily occurrence. Just to give our viewers a sense of how bad things are in Afghanistan today as we speak, just in the last 1 month alone, 64 security personnel and almost 25 odd civilians have been killed in terror attacks. That's more than 2 security personnel per day.
Okay.
Now imagine the number of people and killed over the last several years in Afghanistan because of Taliban's persistent refusal to sign a ceasefire agreement with the Afghan government. That's one of the key demands of the government of President Ghani in Kabul. They say Taliban must come forward and sign a ceasefire agreement with all stakeholders concerned, but Taliban refuses to do so. Now, the Americans, for their part, have only about less than 3 months to pull out their troops from Afghanistan. Remember, the former President Donald Trump had decided to pull out American troops from Afghanistan by the month of May this year. But we have heard from Washington, they say we are reviewing our strategy just yet. So no word yet officially from Washington on whether they will pull out their troops come the month of May or not. But details coming this moment, Anil, from Kabul, is that at least 16 people have been killed and 2 others injured in what is suspected Taliban attack at an outpost in the northern Afghan province of Kunduz. And this is coming from the local provincial council member who says this happened on Thursday night, last night in Kunduz. And this is another indication of the Taliban stepping up violence in that country.
Okay, does that also put pressure, especially now, you need to rework your strategy, especially when it comes to pulling out soldiers. But what exactly, will there be more pressure now for the foreign troops to stay in Afghanistan, extend the stay? Because, this particular situation seems to be a bit on slippery ground.
Exactly. Then that's the million-dollar question, Anil. Would America want to withdraw all its troops come May?
Okay.
Or would they leave a residual force in Afghanistan to help the situation for the Afghan government in Kabul? Now, many countries in the region and beyond, including India, are watching developments very, very closely because once the American troops, foreign troops withdraw from Afghanistan, many fear that this will give the Taliban a free run of the place and they will get more emboldened as the day moves, and in the days ahead. So clearly, a lot at stake for Afghanistan and also countries in the region, including India.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you and appreciate you joining us this morning with those updates there on that blast in Afghanistan last night. Well, moving on, concerned over the declaration of the state of emergency in Myanmar, the members of the United Nations Security Council have called for an immediate release of the detained members of the government that includes the state councillor Aung San Suu Kyi and president, but stop short of condemning this week's coup. In a statement released by the council on Thursday, the 15-member council encouraged the pursuance of dialogue and reconciliation in accordance with the will and interest of the people of Myanmar. The members of the UNSC also expressed concern over the restrictions on civil society, journalists and media workers. Myanmar's leader Aung San Suu Kyi and several other members of the government were detained by military on the 1st of February and a state of emergency was declared. Well, America is back, diplomacy is back. These are the words that the United States President Joe Biden used while laying out his foreign policy vision on Thursday during a visit to the State Department. During his speech on the U.S. foreign policy, Biden also made comments on Myanmar's coup and vowed to raise the annual refugee admissions to 125,000 in the coming fiscal this year. The U.S. President also declared to end U.S. support for offensive operations in the Saudi-led war in Yemen. Biden also pledged to continue U.S. support for Saudi Arabia. Well, the lawyers of former United States President Donald Trump on Thursday rejected a request from Democrats to testify at his impeachment trial in the Senate next week, dismissing that particular invitation as a public relations stunt. The response came after the lead House impeachment manager, Democratic lawmaker Jamie Raskin, in a letter to Trump, wrote that the Democrats reserve all rights to establish at trial that their refusal to testify will only support a strong adverse inference regarding their actions on Jan 6th Capitol Hill incident. Trump's attorney, Bruce Castor and David Sohan, rejected the invitation, calling it a PR stunt. Trump is facing impeachment charge for allegedly inciting violence at the Capitol Hill. In the United States, the House of Representatives have voted against Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene, stripping her of the two high-profile committee assignments related to the House Budget Committee and the House Education and Labor Committee. The voting took place on Thursday following Greene's incendiary remarks, including support for violence against Democrats. Greene had alleged that the deadly U.S. school shootings were staged, and it suggested a space laser was used to deliberately start a California wildfire, and questioned whether a plane struck the Pentagon in the 2001 attacks on the United States. Ahead of the voting, Greene delivered a speech on the House floor expressing regret for some of her incendiary remarks, but failed to apologize for supporting violence against Democrats. Well, also take a quick update on COVID-19 from across the world. The numbers on how world over cases are: 10 crores 5 lakh, that's the number of cases world over. 7 crore 70 lakh, that's the recoveries. Death toll 22 lakh 92,000. United States having the worst number of cases, worst number of fatalities, worst number of cases in terms of infections, 2 crore 72 lakh. In terms of death toll in United States at this point of time, while Brazil follows United States when it comes to number 2 on the list of fatalities. Well, Bangladesh will receive 12.79 million doses of COVID-19 vaccine from the World Health Organization's COVAX facility. The COVAX Initiative for Equitable Global Access to COVID-19 Vaccines has announced the decision to provide Oxford University's AstraZeneca vaccine to Bangladesh by June this year. The vaccine is being provided to countries in proportion to their population. Apart from Bangladesh, in South Asia, India will also get 97.2 million, Pakistan 17.2 million, Nepal 2.2 million, Sri Lanka 1.6 million, and Bhutan and Maldives 1.08 lakh doses of the vaccine, respectively. Well, Brazil's jungle city, Manaus, has got its new COVID-19 intensive care unit with oxygen generators. Manaus has made headlines in the recent weeks for its high death rate, a shortage of oxygen tanks for patients who develop severe cases of COVID-19, and the emergence of a new variant of the virus. The ward is comprising of 22 ICU beds, each with a ventilator fed through the hospital's own oxygen generator. COVID-19 has been ravaging across Brazil, where 93,07,000 cases have been registered. The country has seen more than 2,28,000 deaths from the virus. Well, Britain's Aston Villa football grounds have been turned into a mass COVID-19 vaccination centre. The centre would vaccinate around 1,500 people per day in the Birmingham city. Britain is currently rolling out a mass vaccination program, and more than 10 million people have been given their first shot of the COVID-19 vaccine. The COVID-19 pandemic has killed 1,10,000 people in the United Kingdom, while 38,92,000 people have been infected in the country. Britain has also launched a trial to assess the immune response generated if doses of the vaccine from Pfizer and AstraZeneca are combined in a two-shot schedule. Initial data on the immune responses is expected to be generated around June. Well, on to cricket, R. Ashwin, that's Ravichandran Ashwin and Jasprit Bumrah ended England's strong start on day one of the opening test match in Chennai. Ashwin removed Rory Burns for 33, and soon Jasprit Bumrah dismissed Dan Lawrence for duck. Earlier, England had put up a good start at the M.A. Chidambaram Stadium in Chennai. The visiting side's openers put in an excellent start, with Dominic Sibley and Rory Burns putting in a solid start. The game is being played behind closed doors due to restrictions imposed as a precautionary measure against COVID-19. As we speak, England are 67 for the loss of 2 wickets at lunch. Well, shifting to football, Chelsea's revival under Thomas Tuchel continued as Jorginho's penalty sealed a 1-0 win at Tottenham Hotspur on Thursday night, handing Jose Mourinho's side a third consecutive loss. Tottenham's poor form was punctuated by the way Eric Dyer recklessly tripped Timo Werner to concede the penalty, which Jorginho converted in the 24th minute. While Chelsea's pursuit of the Champions League places was given a lift, Tottenham are slipping away from the top four in a disappointing second season in charge for Mourinho. Tottenham were also beaten at home last Thursday by Liverpool before collapsing at Brighton, meaning Jose Mourinho has now experienced back-to-back home league defeats for the first time in his managerial career. Tottenham host West Bromwich Albion in the league on Sunday before Chelsea play at Sheffield United later on the same day. Well, lots to look forward to, especially in the world of sports. That particular test match between India and England there in Chennai. We'll be getting you all the updates. Day one of that particular day one and first session of play before lunch. I would say the honors are evenly shared because England got off to a good start, but then Indian bowlers slowly pegging them back. England at 67 for 2. Also a big debut for the person who was called in today, Akshar Patel, being injured from that test playing squad and out of the first test, and in walked in a player Shahbaz Ahmed, who's got his debut there. He's got his playing cap there in that particular outing. Joe Root currently batting unbeaten at 4 at lunch, along with Dominic Sibley unbeaten on 26. So it's going to be an uphill task by the partnership now. These two will have to build a huge partnership for England to stage a comeback in this particular test match on the opening day. But clearly, session 1, day 1, honors evenly shared between England and India there at the stadium in Chennai. Remember, this particular test match is played behind closed doors, and we could expect permission to be given for the second test match in Chennai, where we could see 50% of the audience being allowed to watch live cricket action there on the ground. Well, we'll leave it there. Thank you and appreciate you joining us this morning on news. But news and updates from India and across the world continue here on DD India. Stay tuned and have a safe and wonderful day ahead. Bye-bye.